Good morning, everybody. My name is Jeff Fugate. I'm the hearing officer for this morning's hearing. It's 11 o'clock, but I think we're going to wait another minute or two and see if we've got some more folks joining in. So we'll start here in just a few minutes. Well, Ms. Larson, does it look like we're stabilizing here in numbers? You want me to go ahead and get started?
Yes, I think this is a good time to get started, Mr. Fugate.
Okay. Great. Thank you all again for joining us this morning. Again, my name is Jeff Fugate. I'm an Assistant Attorney General of the Attorney General's Office. I do some work with COGCC, but my primary client is the Division of Reclamation, Mining, and Safety. But I was asked to act as hearing officer for the financial assurance rulemaking, and this is an important rulemaking, and so it's something that I accepted. This morning's hearing, I know some of you, or likely all of you, have been engaged at some level in rulemaking with COGCC the past year or so. So you know the routine with these pre-hearing conferences. We're not getting into the substantive aspects of financial assurance today. We're mostly focusing on the procedural aspects of the hearing, how the hearing is going to be run, and some important deadlines associated with parties' abilities to engage or non-parties' ability to get involved in this rulemaking. So with that, I think I'll probably start with just a reminder that on June 15th, we did issue a case management order related to this financial assurance rulemaking. So I'll likely just be hitting the highlights and some of the important deadlines from that management order. So I do encourage you to, again, review that because there is some important detail in that CMO. The other thing that we'll touch on briefly today is just the e-filing process, that is the process where parties can engage and exchange and file documents with the commission, staff, and other parties. And so if there's any questions on that, likely Ms. Larson will be able to walk you through that, or at least give you some directions on how to register and ensure that you're involved and have access to all of the relevant documents in this matter. I also will briefly discuss consolidation of the parties in an effort to try to have the most efficient and streamlined process we can. We'll talk a little bit about consolidation of parties who are similarly situated or have similar interests. And then finally, we'll open it up for questions at the end. Again, trying to field or answer some of the procedural questions or other things that maybe we didn't miss or that we didn't cover in the CMO or that we just missed or forgot to raise in that CMO. So we have an hour today. Likely we'll use a good chunk of that time. At this point in time, I was not going to start this hearing with any roll call. There is a significant number of parties involved in this. I think we're close to the 100-party mark. And so I'd rather save that time for discussion at the end rather than a roll call. So Ms. Larson, if there's anything else I need to cover at the outset here, if not, I'll just kind of jump into a full review of the CMO.
That would be great. Please proceed.
Great. As I indicated, we did issue a CMO on June 15th to try to get out in front of some of the hearing process for this particular rulemaking. I'm going to hit the highlights. Again, I'll touch on what I think is most important, starting with the pre-hearing statements. As outlined in the CMO, those pre-hearing statements are due from the parties on July 16th. We do have a 14 double-spaced page limit on those pre-hearing statements, but please note that that does not include exhibits. So that is just 14 double-spaced pages of party presentation, arguments, legal positions, or other statements that they would like to make or to be considered by the commissioners. Importantly, I wanted to note that the exhibit list, again, we're looking for electronic exhibits only, and there is some information in the CMO on how to submit those and properly label or number those exhibits so they can be easily referenced and found by the commissioners. But one of the important exhibits is party red lines. If any of you do have a desire to provide suggested red line to the commissioners or comments in kind of the comment bubble that you're all familiar with in red line versions, kind of explaining a suggestion or a change of language, you're encouraged to submit that as an exhibit to your pre-hearing statement. And then that will be something that the other parties can review and also the commissioners can review and ask questions of. One of the things that I do want to clarify in the CMO as I was reviewing it last night, prepared for today's hearing, there is I'll call it a typo or an error on the first paragraph, top of page 2. It does indicate that parties are limited to one pre-hearing statement per organization per rule series. I want to clarify that we're not allowing a 14-page pre-hearing statement on each of the rule series that are subject to amendment in this rulemaking effort. We are going to only accept one 14-page pre-hearing statement on all of the rules series that are subject to modification through this process. So my apologies in advance for if that led to any confusion or some complications in when you file your pre-hearing statements. So again, to clarify, that's one pre-hearing statement, 14 pages on all of the rule series that are subject to this rulemaking. The next important deadline are responses to pre-hearing statements. Again, parties have the ability to file a response to other parties' pre-hearing statements. The deadline for those are August 20. Here, we're also looking for just one response to pre-hearing statement from each party or group or organization, and those are limited to 8 double-spaced pages. The other important part of the response to pre-hearing statement, although you can identify witnesses in your pre-hearing statement, in the response, we are looking for a final list of your witnesses, and you are limited to 2 witnesses. In your witness list, please include a description of the nature of testimony from your witness, and if you are using an expert witness, please provide a resume outlining their expertise. Related to witnesses, if you are using a witness, the CMO outlines that you must file a pre-filed written testimony with the commission by September 10th related to the nature of testimony. We also want to clarify that exhibits that might be used or relied upon or referenced by witnesses also need to be included with your pre-filed written testimony at that time. All other exhibits need to be included with your pre-hearing statements, again, due on September 16th. I also want to make sure that it's clear that witnesses will be subject to commission questions. So we want to make sure that those witnesses are available and prepared to answer commissioner questions should they have any of your particular witnesses. And then finally, for folks who don't want to participate in the rulemaking as a formal party, there is the 512 statement option. There are some discussion of this in the CMO. I think the most important part of this is that participation through the 512 statement process is either a written statement or oral presentation, but not both. Should somebody sign up for or provide a written statement and also sign up for oral comment, the commission will just accept their written statements and not include them to the oral comment list. The important deadlines here are the 512 statements are due on September 10th. If you want to just sign up for oral comment, that sign up deadline is September 16th. So again, we want to encourage folks who don't want to participate in the full party process and don't want to or don't have the time or desire to engage in pre-hearing statements and responses. The 512 statement is a good opportunity to present either written or oral comments to the commission for them to consider in the process. So I think those touch on the important deadlines associated with pre-hearing statements, responses, and 512 statements. I think the other aspects of the CMO that I wanted to highlight and touch upon today, as indicated on page 3 of the CMO, motions are not allowed in this particular rulemaking hearing. We've had discussions in the past on whether or not motions should be permitted or not. Frankly, we're not sure what the nature of motions would be related to this rulemaking, but as is outlined in the CMO, should you want to file some type of motion or request, please do send those to me. My email address, contact information is in the CMO. I will consider those and either rule on them myself, or if needed, I'll present them to the commission for consideration. But at this point, we're not allowing for motions to be filed. Let's see. Ms. Larson, is there anything else from the CMO that you think I need to touch on or clarify?
No, and I would just also emphasize, and this might be a good segue, Mr. Fugate, if you're amenable to this, I can talk a little bit about the e-filing system. You noted in your comments on motions that parties could direct them to you. We also do require that any filings in this matter be submitted through the e-filing system. I can walk through briefly to show you a couple screens for the participants here so you can see how, if you're not familiar yet with the e-filing system, where to access it, how to log in, and ensure that when you are uploading your documents in this docket, they are in fact being served on all the participants in this rulemaking. So I will go ahead and do that. I think I can share my screen. I can indeed. Okay, let's see here. All right, so right now you're probably seeing the case management order, and I'm going to go to our homepage, and hopefully everyone can now see our homepage on the screen.
Yes, we do. Excellent.
So when you are looking for the e-filing system, you'll go to the COGCC homepage and go to hearings. And on the hearings page, under operator tools, there's a link to the application and docket portal. You would click that on and sign in. I can sign in here. Oh, well, I've been logged out. One moment.
Ms. Larson, might you provide perspective on how one would sign in if they've not signed in before?
Yes. So back on our, let me do this. Let me go back over to our page here. So again, back on the COGCC website under hearings, and you would come here and go to the, again, to the operator tools, application and docket portal. You would click that on. And if you do not have an account for the e-filing system, you would select request access to site. And then that would take you to a page where you create your account, and you would just walk through the prompts, fill everything out that is required with an asterisk. And once you submit that, you will then be given an account with credentials. And when you come back to our page and go back to the application and docket portal, you'll then be able to enter your email address and your password and would be allowed to then access the e-filing system and submit documents that way.
And again, I don't want to take up too much, but it sometimes takes about 24 hours to get the account with access emailed to you from our system. So everyone go ahead and get signed up now if you've not already signed up, so that you'll have access. It took about 24 hours for me to get my account, and I'm chair. So I think everyone will take a little bit of time. So, thank you.
Thank you. And also the prompts and instructions on how to do this. There's also a brief summary of this in the case management order. So if there are still issues or problems anyone has, please feel free to reach out to me or to Margaret Humecki or Angelica Amaro. Our email addresses are on our website, and we'll be happy to make sure you get access and walk you through that. So hopefully you can all still see the e-filing system application docket portal screen. What you would do is each of our matters that are filed with the COGCC hearings unit are assigned a docket matter or docket number. It's the same with our rulemaking here. So the rulemaking docket number is 2106-00097. You would go down to the section entitled Find Hearing Application by Docket Number and enter that docket number. You would then hit submit, or sorry, search, and give it a moment. Let's try this again. I'll sign back in. Probably didn't like the fact that I was inactive for a little bit. So again, you would go to the Find Hearing Application by docket number. You would input that docket number, hit search. It will return to you that docket number. You would just select that docket. And again, let me know if, Mr. Fugate, if you're not seeing the screens that advance, but you are then taken into a screen that pulls up the entire docket. And it has in here the all the pertinent information, who filed the petition deadline, the notice hearing date, etc. If you scroll down all the way to the bottom, you're going to see the, sorry about this. You'll see the party list here, interested parties. So we've entered the email addresses for every rulemaking participant, and you'll see that there are 94 emails entered in here, recognizing that some parties are represented by legal counsel, and those legal counsel, those lawyers, represent multiple parties. So while we have 92 parties at the moment, there are, I can assure you we've not missed any person who has requested in the course of signing up for this docket that their email address be added here. So you'll see that there are 94 email addresses representing all the parties that have signed up. So when it's time to file your pre-hearing statements, you would come over to the right-hand side, and you'll see that there are several features here that you can select from. You would be selecting upload supporting document. So you would click that. You would choose your file that you're going to be submitting, uploading. You would put that in there. You would then go here to document type groups, and you would identify who you are. So anyone that is participating in this rulemaking, they're going to be called what we refer to as a petitioner. So you would select that you are a petitioner. The document type that you would be filing could be pre-filed written testimony. The petition will have other options in here for you to choose from, but you would select the document type that you are filing. And then you would just also select what type of file it is that you're uploading. So we'll just assume that it's going to be a PDF, and the system automatically puts in there the date that you're filing. So you would not need to select anything there. It automatically does that. And if you look over here on the right side of the screen, you'll see keywords, and the system automatically puts in there that you're petitioner. And this is an important feature. Because we do have so many parties, the system requires you to put in there your party name. I'm sorry, and I'm hearing that you are not able to see my screen share at the moment. So give me one moment and I will get to that. Okay, hopefully you all can see the screen now, and it makes a little more sense as to what I've been saying over the last minute or so. So again, when you've uploaded your document, when you've gone to that section to upload your document, you're going to be shown this screen that allows you to insert the file that you're going to be uploading. And then here it says the petitioner, the type of party that you are, who you are coming in. So you would select petitioner. The type of document that you're uploading here, you would select what that is. We'll just pretend that you're uploading right now pre-filed written testimony. File type, you would just go here and select the type of file it is that you have. So we're just going to say PDF. Again, the system automatically puts in the date, so you don't need to do anything to modify that. You would go over here on the right side of the page under the filed by role. Again, you are a petitioner, so you would select petitioner. And then under party name, this is the important feature here. Because we do have so many parties, it's imperative that the documents coming in are identified by who is filing them. And when I say who, it's not just the individual, but it's in fact the party name. So if you are representing more than one party, or whoever you may be, you don't want to put in your individual name unless that is how you have registered as a party. We have the majority of our parties are organizations or companies. So you would put here your company. So if it happens to be XYZ Corporation, you would put in XYZ Corporation. If you are in fact an individual and that's how you registered in this rulemaking, you would then put in your name. That's who you are, that's the party. But again, we would not want counsel. So if I'm a lawyer and I'm representing 3 parties in this rulemaking, I would not put in my name, Mimi Larson. I would instead put in the name of my client that is registered and participating in this rulemaking. And so that way, when your document is uploaded, it will be identified in the docket itself who filed that pre-hearing statement. So we will have an automatic document name that the system creates, and it will say pre-hearing statement, and then it would put in that party name, that corporation, that nonprofit organization, that individual. It would have that name in there. So at the end, the rest of this information is not necessary to put in. The system would just automatically populate it. And you would just go all the way down to the bottom and just hit import. And it would then upload your document. Since I'm not uploading anything, I won't follow through with that. So hopefully that provides a little more clarity as to how to upload your documents. Once you've done that, we'll go ahead and also prepare a one-page little guide to help folks, and we'll get that out to the parties and make sure that's available. We do also have on our website other resources that walk through how to utilize the e-filing system. So I would encourage you to avail yourself of those documents. But again, we will put together a one-pager that just walks through these steps and get that out to all the parties.
Great, thanks, Ms. Larson. That's helpful, and obviously, since everything will be filed exclusively through this process, please, as she indicated, avail yourself of the training materials and other resources. For those of you who aren't frequent flyers on the e-filing system, it does take a little bit of time to navigate your way through things. So just keep that in mind on the various deadline filing dates that you're familiar and you have it figured out, so you're not scrambling last minute to get something filed. And I guess Ms. Larson, if they're still having trouble after reviewing some of the materials, who's the best person for them to reach out to with some questions? Because I know it's not me that can help with this.
Yes, the best person would be Angelica Amaro. And Ms. Amaro's email address is contained within the case management order. Her email address is also on our website as well.
Thank you. The next thing we'll move into is just a brief discussion of consolidation. As I indicated at the outset, consolidation is encouraged. There's just shy of 100 parties to this particular rulemaking. Although the CMO outlines a large number of days where the commission will consider this, there's still a lot to cover. There's a lot of presentations to account for. And so to the extent parties who are similarly situated, we encourage you all to consolidate time and figure out presentations, whether that's consolidating and coming up with blocks of time and sharing witnesses, or however you think is best to manage your time and ability to present to the commission. You're encouraged to do that. As you likely noted in this CMO, we did not come up with any kind of order or time allocations or anything like that. We'll either have a second pre-hearing order that addresses party order, presentation order, and time allocations, or we'll have another meeting with parties. But we do want to wait until we have the ability to review pre-hearing statements and response to pre-hearing statements at the very least before we start looking at time allocation and order. So again, if you have any questions on that, again, my contact information is in the CMO. Please reach out to me and I can coordinate with Ms. Larson on kind of that next step in getting things prepared and ordered and structured prior to the hearing at the end of September. And aside from that, I don't know if there's anything specifically that I wanted to cover other than just introduce myself. Again, reference the CMO for the relevant and important deadlines, and then reach out if you have any questions or problems with the e-filing system. As Ms. Larson indicated, all of the party emails are uploaded, so you don't have to track down parties to provide copies to anybody else. It's all there for you in the e-filing system. And so with that, I guess maybe we'll just open it up to questions. I do know there are some questions in the chat. So give me just a moment to find those. Maybe I'll start with those and then I'll open it up for questions from folks here on the call. I think there's a question from Ms. Laughlin regarding would a signature on a petition preclude a member of the public from making oral comment? Likely not. I guess I'd want to see kind of the nature of the petition that's being signed, and Ms. Laughlin, I guess maybe I need some clarification if this is in reference to a 512 statement of participation or if it's something different, if it's a participation as a party. I think what we're looking for is kind of the either or option through the 512 statement is that the parties aren't doing both. They're not both submitting a written statement and making oral comment. But I guess my initial response is that, just signing a petition being one of a larger group would not preclude you from making a concise oral comment as part of your 512 statement.
And yes, I would just add on that certainly we encourage public comment, and if someone's, as Mr. Fugate noted, if someone has signed a petition in general, that will likely not preclude them from signing up to make public comment.
There's another question from Christy Zeller. Last rulemaking, if someone did not log out, this created delays. Will you have an alternate, an alternate option? Ms. Larson, that may be a better question for you. I'm not sure what that's referencing.
Yes, I believe, Ms. Zeller, what you're referring to is there was a great deal of usage of the e-filing system right around the deadline to file presentations in the informational docket on the financial assurance informational docket. And that created bandwidth issues, for lack of a better term, with the system. Everyone was filing essentially at the exact same time. So there were error messages that folks were receiving. We've worked with our developers to see if there may be ways to address that. The long and the short of it is, when everyone's trying to file in that docket at the exact same time, there will be delays no matter what. So we understand that, and if we run into that again, which I understand, you know, time is precious, and sometimes you're not able to get your pre-hearing statement or whatever filing you need in earlier, and so everyone kind of waits till the last minute to get it in. I get that. If there are delays and there are error messages, just be patient. Please continue to work with the e-filing system. We will not exclude someone who has been trying to get their pre-hearing statement in, and due to everyone else trying to get it in at the same time, they don't get it in, say, until 5:30. Whatever the system allows them to get it in. We'll just kind of have to work through that. We'll continue to work with our developers as well to see if there are fixes that are available to remedy that. Right now, I can't guarantee that.
Another question from the chat from Mr. Easley: if registered as a party without an attorney, can you amend if you do retain an attorney? I believe the answer is yes. I don't know if that would be through the e-filing system or just an email to myself and just noticing, but yes, if you do retain counsel through the rulemaking process, that there is a way to amend that.
Yes, and I would ask that be filed through the e-filing system, and it can just be a simple notice of change of amendment to your party registration, and just note if you do have legal counsel now representing you, who that is.
A question from Mr. Doe related to experts and time allocation. Ms. Larson, maybe this again is a question for you. I'm not as familiar with how things have been done in the past for naming of experts and allocations of time.
Yes, so it appears, Mr. Doe, that the question is that there's the desire to know earlier on how much time parties are going to be allotted for presentation in front of the commission, which would then assist you in identifying your experts or expert testimony. Again, as Mr. Fugate noted, that process does occur a little bit later on in this rulemaking process, once pre-hearing statements are in and we have started to see where parties are lining up and are looking forward to planning the actual rulemaking hearing. It's at that point that the time allotments, staff starts looking at that. So certainly I can assure you the commissioners read every bit of information that is filed in these rulemaking dockets, including the pre-filed written testimony. So if commissioners have questions for expert witnesses that a party brings forward, the commissioners will ask them, regardless of how much time staff may have allotted to that party for their presentation. So we will continue to work on that. And as we get closer to the hearing, we will work with parties on that time allotment.
Thank you for that clarification. It looks like there's maybe were you going to say something?
I was just going to note Mr. Lepore's recommendation to promptly log off the e-filing system after you've filed something, which does help in creating more pathways for other folks to come in and file. So thank you for that, Mr. Lepore.
Right. Again, just following the chat questions from Mr. Mccarter related to the town of Windsor. And maybe I might need some clarification on your question, but if what you're asking is if they don't want to participate through filings of pre-hearing statements and responses, can they just submit comments under the deadlines in the CMO? I'm assuming you're referencing just the 5/12 statement deadline, which for written comments is September 10th. If I'm misunderstanding your question, please go ahead and either re-chat it or I'm not sure if you've got the ability to unmute yourself and see if I'm hitting the mark here. But
yeah, my question is, my question is just that if we don't want to go through the whole petition response, all that stuff, and just want to submit comments, can we do that as a 512? I may have gotten in over my head by signing up as a party, but I want to make sure that at least Windsor's position is.
Thanks for that. And yes, I mean, if that's how you kind of want to limit your participation is just in written statements, then yeah, I believe you can file that as just a 512 statement by September 12th. Like historically, if you do sign up as a party, but you fail to file a pre-hearing statement, I don't think that excludes you as a party. Ms. Larson, maybe you can clarify for me how the commission typically handles party status and maybe losing party status.
Certainly in this rulemaking, we understand that the filing requirements may be a little aggressive for some parties. Some parties may wish to not participate fully, meaning not file pre-hearing statements, rebuttal testimony, or responsive statements and pre-filed written testimony. So in that instance, and it sounds perhaps that the town of Windsor may be there, if you would instead just to file one statement, we would then essentially treat you as a 512 statement. So you would still receive all of the notice of filings in this docket. You, though, would not have to file a pre-hearing statement. You would not have to file a responsive statement, nor pre-filed written testimony. And you could just file one document with your comments. And then as we proceed and get closer to hearing, we would give the opportunity for those parties to then make a very brief presentation in front of the commission, a few minutes, address orally what they have provided their written comments already in this rulemaking. So hopefully that helps. Again, we recognize not every party may have the time and the resources to participate fully as this CMO outlines.
And as Mimi indicated, obviously we encourage involvement in this rulemaking, and if the robust nature of the party status, the pre-hearing filings is there's an inability to kind of devote that much time to this process, then the 512 statement process really is a great way of getting your comments, concerns to the commission. They do review everything, so that's a great way to participate without having to be as involved as some of the party requirements call for here. So I'm trying to review all the chats here. It looks like somebody did try to access the party list in the e-filing system, and it is blank. That's something we'll look into and make sure that that's updated.
And I can just add, we don't actually have yet the party list uploaded into the docket, but the interested parties are all listed at the very end of at the very bottom of that docket. So it does list everyone's email address who has submitted a request to be a party in this rulemaking.
The last comment I did receive was from Mr. Doe related to be the change in their party status. Mr. Doe, looks like you just barely missed the deadline for requesting party status. So if you want to unmute yourself and make your request orally today, then I can consider that motion today rather than kind of going through a more formal back and forth process.
Thank you, Jeff. There was a misunderstanding on my part. I was on a fly fishing trip and I didn't get back until a little after 5, and I thought I was supposed to register today at this meeting, and apparently it was at 5 o'clock last night. I tried to register at 5:20. I sent Mimi a notification that I was blocked, and she said to notify you today. So that's what I'm doing. And we would like to be a party. We've been a party to all the hearings so far, and this is probably the most important one for us.
Sure, no, understood. And I hope you had a successful fly fishing trip, but yes, your request is granted. Obviously we want to encourage participation, particularly from your group who has been actively involved in all of these rulemakings.
Thank you very much. We'll try to be more prompt in the future.
And I believe, at least I'm trying to scan the chat here, that I've covered all of the questions there. Appear to have seen them all. I guess this is a time, maybe I don't want to, if you want to open it up to the group for questions. I'm not sure what the easiest way is to try to manage that or not.
You know,
or if we want to stick to the chat.
yeah, I think chat or is a great way to address any additional questions.
Okay.
I agree. Keep it to chat. It works
Okay.
really well.
Sounds good. And obviously you all have been through a variety of these types of hearings because you're very proficient at using the chat and coming in with all of your microphones muted, which is always appreciated. So if we'll stick with the chat, if anyone has any other questions, please include them there, and maybe we'll wait for a bit for people to type them in. If there aren't any other questions, I think we've covered everything that we were aiming to cover today as far as process. Again, if you have any questions, my contact information is in the CMO. Please reach out to me directly. I'll answer what I can, coordinate through Ms. Larson. If there are some other questions that I'm not as familiar with. Just got a question here from Mr. Martin. Let's see, another rule makes commissions provided for pre-filed rebuttal testimony. Saying that they may be advisable here. Consider the request. Yes, thank you, Mr. Martin, for raising that. I think in the CMO, we did outline that there is not going to be any kind of rebuttal testimony. So one of the things we can look at is the timelines and see if there is an ability to squeeze something like that in or not. Historically, and Ms. Larson, I might lean on you for this. I don't know how frequently the commission has allowed for written rebuttal testimony, and if that's something that is advisable for this rulemaking or not, if there's really a need for it here.
Yeah, my recollection, and I may be wrong, I don't believe we have in the past allowed rebuttal testimony, but we can certainly take that under advisement and look at the schedule to see if that might be something we could accommodate. We can consider that.
All right, I'm not seeing the other chats to the group. I did get one here just confirming that parties are able to access other parties' filings on the e-filing system. I believe the answer is yes, that once they're uploaded in the e-filing, then everybody will have access to review those filings.
Yes, and just a note, if you are a party to this rulemaking, you will receive notice when there's a document that's been uploaded. So that's helpful. If you're a member of the public who is not an actual party to this rulemaking, you can still go into the e-filing system, create an account, and look at the docket and review all the filings. So they're available to the public. You don't have to be a party to the rulemaking to access the filings. And Mr. Fugate, Ms. Amaro reminded me there was one item that we should also address today, that La Plata County, they will be joining the group Allied Local Government Coalition. So just to note that for the parties, and again, when we get the party list updated and in the e-filing system, that will be noted in there.
Great, thanks for that. And one of the things I was flipping through the CMO, I do want to note that the filing deadlines for the remaining filings is 7 p.m., not 5 p.m. So again, a couple hours further into the evening. Just note that for the parties. But another question for Mr. Doe: at what stage in this process is consolidation of parties most most helpful? I'm not sure. I mean, I know that I'm going to review pre-hearing statements and responses to pre-hearing statements before I start to look at kind of party order and allocation of time. So likely around that time, once the other parties have access to review other parties' statements, that's generally, I think, when it's most helpful for consideration of consolidation and looking at allocation of time and kind of grouping of presentations. At this point, I'm not sure, Ms. Larson, if we're having a kind of a second conference on this, or if this is something that we're just going to do through kind of various versions of CMOs or hearing orders. What's your preference?
Yeah, so I would recommend, if folks want to consolidate, it's 11:46. If you want to get that done by noon today, that would be lovely. But, you know, as Mr. Fugate noted, certainly consolidation, the earlier it happens, the better. If parties wish to, you know, get their pre-hearing statements in and then consider other parties' positions, and then that is the most opportune time for them to then look at consolidation. I understand that. However, if there is the ability to consolidate earlier in this process prior to pre-hearing statements coming in, that would be helpful, because if you can identify among the parties that are in this rulemaking, alignment on issues, alignment on concerns, having, you know, 3, 4, 5, however many parties come together and with one voice present those positions to the commission, that is powerful. And that helps our process in general and helps us look forward to the hearing and recognize that there then would be probably more time allotted to a consolidated group for a presentation. If we're looking, I'll just be honest, if we're looking at having 93 individual presentations to the commission, we're likely going to have very limited amount of time for parties to do that. So the sooner parties can start looking at consolidation, the better.
Right, and to follow up on that, I mean, if you are in a position to make those decisions, consolidation decisions early on in the process, please reach out to me early so I can make note of that as I'm piecing together the hearing order. I'm not seeing any new questions on the chat. Oh, there's one more. Let's see, another question. Will creating an account enable receipt of notifications to public participants with non-party status? I believe if you're registered under this docket number, you'll receive notice of anything that's filed. Is that correct, Mimi?
And I'll have Ms. Amaro correct me if I'm wrong here. Only parties who are interested parties will receive notice of filings. However, since we know when the deadlines are for filings in this matter, if you're a member of the public, have an account, are able to log into the e-filing system, you'll know that, you know, if there's a filing deadline on July the 16th, come back in on the 17th and everything will be in there. Granted, you will not receive notice if there happens to be an update to a party status. You would not receive notice of that because it may be filed on, you know, at any point. But you're not going to receive individual notification that a document has been filed unless you are a party to this rulemaking.
And I would encourage you, if you're participating as a non-party, to just get in the habit of checking in on the docket randomly, just to see if there is any updates or new filings related to this particular docket number. And Mimi, am I correct that all of the documents related to this will live just in the e-filing system, that there's not going to be a separate link or page on the COGCC website?
That is correct. And I can note that everything that is currently under our financial assurance webpage on our COGCC website, there are some informational materials, background information. All of those documents are being brought into this e-filing system. So there will be nothing new added to that webpage. Everything that is on that webpage, though, is going to be brought into the e-filing system.
Okay. Right. Any other questions on chat from interested persons? Looks like we are good for today then. Again, thank you all for your participation. You know, the deadlines will come, things will be filed. If there's a need for me to file any additional amendments to the CMO or updates, then I'll do so, and obviously parties will get notice of that. But I think that's all that we needed to kind of discuss at today's hearing. So again, thank you all for your participation. And if you have any questions, you have my contact information. Please reach out.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks all.